So just to summarize what we had discussed in the last session, and if we could put everything in these 5 skills, I'm sure if you have these 5 skills in your pocket, you're really good to go. And I'm sure many of you may be already practicing it. Just to ask the first question about the first skill that I want to talk about, that is building rapport. What exactly we mean by building rapport?
May I answer?
Yes, sir, please go ahead. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like gaining entry into the patient's mind.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. What do others say? What is building rapport?
Gaining patient's confidence.
Okay, wonderful. What do others say?
Ma'am, to create such an environment for the patient that they can talk to us freely for all their problems. They will not hesitate while telling us something. So that is the rapport.
So all the answers that I have received, that shows probably we are doing it for the patient. Is building rapport not important for us?
Yes, of course.
So I would say building rapport is creating familiarity and comfort for both the parties, not just for the patient. For us also to get into that mind frame that I need to now interact with this patient and maybe talk about the patient's poor prognosis, or maybe talk about what the patient has come up with, or lapses in care or complications. So building rapport is not just for the patient, it's for all of us. How much time do you think it takes to build rapport?
Around 2 to 3 minutes.
Okay, good guess.
1 minute.
Do you say? 1 minute? Okay.
1 minute. Yeah.
Few seconds.
Few seconds. Again, a good guess, I would say. What do others say?
If I know the patient already, if I know the patient already or anybody in their family already, it takes few seconds.
Absolutely. And very honestly, building rapport does not take time at all. You don't have to make any, you don't have to spend extra time to build rapport. Especially when I take sessions for government sector hospitals, they normally say we don't have time to build rapport, where we just have a couple of minutes to attend to a patient. So building rapport is absolutely not possible in a government setup. Very honestly, it does not require time. So building rapport is more of a mindset where you value the importance of building rapport. So what all we need to do to build rapport?
Greet the patient.
Okay, greet the patient, great.
And introduce yourself, and maybe asking about the patient, making him comfortable.
Making the patient comfortable. So for example, if the patient has entered my chamber, I lift my head and make eye contact, look at the patient. Usually patient would be saying, Namaste, doctor. And I say, Namaste, Aiye Baba, baithiye. Or if the patient doesn't say, I say, Namaste Baba, आइए बैठिए. कौन है आपके साथ में ये? बहन जी मेरा बेटा है ये. कहाँ रहते हैं आप? यहाँ से जो 10 किलोमीटर आगे गांव है, मैं वहां से आया हूँ. Honestly, even these few these dialogues, Namaste, आइए बैठिए, making eye contact, smiling if appropriate, your building rapport has begun. A lot of time, we don't make eye contact. A lot of time, we don't offer them place to sit. A lot of time, we don't smile, thinking smiling is not for the patient, it's for somebody whom I'm familiar with. But smile really breaks the ice. Patient feels wanted, accepted, welcomed. And does anything of this need time? Whatever I've said, making eye contact, offering place to sit, asking Namaste Babaji, kaise hain aap? On aaya?
No, doesn't need.
It doesn't take time. And this much of effort.
It's a question of forming the habit.
Absolutely. And also having that mindset that I need to build rapport with the patient, because patient has to become comfortable with me. I have to become comfortable with the patient. Patient will be more forthcoming with the information. If I have a face which is little stern with no smile, authoritative, patient will be fearing. डॉक्टर साहब बड़ी खड़ूस लग रही हैं, बड़ी गुस्से वाली लग रही हैं. बताऊं कि नहीं बताऊं कि मैंने दवाई ठीक से नहीं ली. बताऊं कि नहीं बताऊं कि मैं 4 जगह और दिखाकर आया हूं. बताऊं कि नहीं बताऊं कि मेरी दवाई में ये गलती हो गई. Because patient will be hesitant. On the contrary, if I've been able to, get my patient's trust right in the beginning, patient will be honest in saying कि मैंने दवाई ठीक से नहीं ली या मैंने follow up ठीक से नहीं करा. And that's the beauty of building rapport. So just to, enjoy the fun of building rapport, I'm going to put you in breakout room with somebody whom you haven't met. So I'll be taking doctors from different hospitals so that you can, interact. And I want you to discuss, the prompt that I want you to discuss is, if you were not in medicine, where would you have been? So the total activity is for 3 minutes. So first minute, one person will speak, the other will listen. And in the second minute, the other person will speak and the first one will listen. And you have to share your thoughts impromptu. If you were not in medicine, where would have you been? And then last 1 minute is in case if something is left, just to, do that and come back. So I am going to make breakout rooms and share you. How many of us are there?
Can you repeat once more the activity we have to do? Our
Sure.
connection.
Sure, I will do that, ma'am. So the activity is that I will be putting you with a partner in a breakout room. The activity is for 3 minutes. The prompt for discussion is, if you were not in medicine, where would have you been? So for the first 1 minute, you will be speaking. One person will be speaking. The second person will be listening. Then for the second minute, the second person will be sharing his or her thoughts that if I was not in medicine, where would have I been? And then the last 1 minute is in case if something is left, just to complete the activity. So I'm going to put you in the breakout room. You will get the option to join the breakout room. So you have to just click join. So I'm going to share. Okay. I know your partner had not joined.
Yes, ma'am. So I actually came back. So what am I supposed to do?
So please go back. I have asked Soumya to join. So there will be a partner now.
Okay, so shall I just click the join break room?
Yeah,
outro?
yeah, please. Yeah,
Yes.
yeah. Go ahead. So what was the experience?
That was a very nice experience, and we came to know about each other's choice, passion, and I came to know about Abhilasha's desire, and I told her about my situation also.
Wow.
So she said that she wanted to become a teacher, especially in a primary school, and she wanted to pursue her hobbies of painting and teaching.
So it would have been a great loss to medicine if she was into teaching. Of course, teaching is a wonderful profession. She's an excellent doctor. I have met her personally. I've seen her personally interacting with her patients. She's actually a very good doctor.
Thank you.
So it would have been a loss to the medicine.
Now I'm a pediatric ophthalmologist. I wanted to become a primary teacher. So maybe.
So indirectly, you are now into teaching patients. Wonderful. So if anybody else would like to share their experience.
So, the same sir shared with me that he wanted to become a journalist, and his mom, dad are also teachers, and everybody wanted different. Like father wanted to become a doctor, and it always happens like in middle class families that if you are a smart kid, you have to go to the doctor engineering field
Or engineering.
Yeah. But it's really nice to talk with each other, though you're ophthalmologists, talk with each other about anything other than ophthalmology.
Absolutely. So if I may
So,
ask others, could you develop that comfort with each other? Could you see
oh
that comfort?
yes,
Yes, yes,
yes, yes.
yes.
Very
See,
much.
these 2-3 minutes, if that could create discomfort, imagine the patient's plight when they come to you and you talk to them and they start suddenly feeling, being looked after. Your own staff with whom you interact 100 times in a day, but do you ever informally interact with them? Check
Yes,
with them where they live, what challenges they are facing in travel or at home or in their personal life.
yes,
So it's not about time, it's about intention, it's about desire, it's about understanding the importance of building rapport. So building rapport with your patients, their family members, your own staff, your subordinates, your team members, your colleagues. It's so very important because it creates that environment of comfort and familiarity. So this one skill, if you can keep in your pocket, and this has to be done proactively. Now, some of you did not join. Not some of you, one of you did not join. And I can't see also that person in the screen. So you will always feel, out of the group. But now, from now onwards, you will feel that we are all one team. We are working towards one goal. And now you will see how the ice would break and how you all gel with each other. So building rapport is the first skill that I really request you to put in your pocket, fold it and keep it in your pocket, that this is going to be the most important skill that I need to practice now onwards with everybody. Second skill that I want to highlight here is attentive listening. So for that, again, we will do an interesting activity. And I'm going to send, like we are 12 of us. So I'm going to send 6 of you, no, 5 of you, because I can see 11. So I'm going to send 5 of you in the waiting room and I'll call you back in a minute's time. So allow me to send you to the waiting room. Give me a second. Dr. Asim, I'm making you to go to waiting room. Then Dr. Snehal. So I'm not choosing anybody whose ever name is coming. Dr. Abhilasha, you are going to the waiting room. And then Dr. Atul, you're also going to the waiting room. So I've sent 4 and Dr. Ashwini. Okay. So 5 people have gone to the waiting room. So can I request all others who are there with me to have your cameras on? I think one more person. Dr. Sumanta, I can see. Dr. Subra, I can see. Soumya, can you have your camera on? Because you are there here, so it's okay if you have your camera on. Yeah. So you will have to participate because you are there in the team right now.
Okay.
Okay. So the activity is that I am going to send you again in the breakout room with a partner, those who are in the waiting room. And they will be telling a story. They will be telling a story, a real life incident that happened with them. But you just don't have to listen to them. Maybe you will have to stop them. Maybe you will start using your phone. Please don't actually use the phone, but just pretend that you are using phone, or you start noting, but demonstrate that you are not listening. You don't ask any questions, don't show any interest, but you have to just show that you are not listening. Is that okay? Okay. So I'm going to the waiting room to give them some instruction. Yes, Dr. Sumanta, please go ahead. Please unmute your device. Dr. Sumanta, please unmute your device.
Can you just repeat it?
Okay. So I am going to ask them to share some interesting incident with
1 minute, 1 minute. Repeat.
Yeah. So I'm going to ask them to share some interesting incident with each one of you. But when they are sharing their story, you have to just pretend that you are not interested in listening. So how do we show that we are not interested in listening? We don't make eye contact. We don't nod our head. We don't acknowledge what they are saying. We don't ask questions, or we start using phone, or we start writing something, showing that I'm not listening to you. Will you be able to do that? Okay. So I'm going to the waiting room and talk to them. So I am sending all of you to the breakout room, and they will join you in a second. So please join the breakout room. Okay, so can I have everyone with the camera on? I can see 3 of you. One more person need to join. Okay, so I'm going to send you to breakout room. There's already a partner there. Try to recollect any recent incident that was really very, maybe you really enjoyed, or you had fun, or you learned something. And you need to share that incident with your partner in the breakout room. So are you all ready? Because I sent the message in the group. Are you all ready? Should I send it? Should I put you in the breakout room? Okay, great. So I'm going to send you to the breakout room. So Dr. Atul, please join. Have you joined? Dr. Atul, please join. Yeah. How was it? Those who were sharing their story, please share your experience first.
I couldn't get her attention at all.
Firstly, I was thinking that I am telling something weird, which I supposed to not to tell. So
Well, how about others? So could you feel how the patient must be feeling when we don't listen to them?
Yeah, they feel insulted. If somebody doesn't listen to me, I'll feel insulted.
And a lot of time, we don't pretend, we rather outright say, don't talk useless things. Talk to me about today's problem. What have I to do with your pain in the back or your kidney problem? You have come to an ophthalmologist, so talk to me about your eye problem. I think these few seconds gave you an idea. Patients come with this story. They come with some, something that they want to share with you. Maybe it's irrelevant. Maybe I really need to stop the patient because I can't spend time just listening to the patient. But how do I stop the patient? How do I bring the patient back to the point? A lot of time we are very rude, or we just give that non-language, non-verbal communication that I'm not interested. My facial expression will change, indicating, or I will start doing something indicating I'm not listening to you. And a lot of time we do this. So second skill that I would like you to keep in your pocket is attentive listening and feedback. By the way, what is feedback? What is feedback?
Yes, carry on. I'm listening. Something
Okay.
like that.
Okay, very good. And Giving feedback and taking feedback, how is it important in patient handling?
If we
Patient will
have,
be encouraged. Yeah, Karyam.
no, you say.
The patient will feel encouraged to tell about the problem more.
Okay. Okay, that's correct. When you give feedback that I'm listening to you, patient will feel that, okay, my story is being heard and it's been acknowledged. And why is it important to take feedback from patient? Somebody else? Dr. Sabyasachi, what do you say? Why is it important to take feedback from the patient if the patient has really understood?
To see whether the patient has understood what I am saying. Because I explained that something wrong might happen and he just does not understand, then that makes no sense.
Absolutely. So all of you have a copy and a pen with you?
Yeah.
Can you all get it in case if you're not having it?
So saying पुढे जाओ.
So I'm going to give you a couple of instructions and I want you to draw as per the instructions. So we are going to draw a bug. I want everyone to have their cameras on. Some of you can close if you want, that's okay. But for others, I want to make sure that they are keeping their camera on. Thank you. Yeah. So we are going to draw a bug. I will be giving instruction and please draw as per your understanding. The bug is round. The bug has 8 legs in pairs, 4 legs on the left and 4 on the right. Let me know if I need to repeat. In the pair, one leg is longer than the other.
Please repeat, ma'am.
In the pair, the one leg is longer than the other.
Okay.
The bug has feelers on the front of longer legs.
Feelers.
Feelers, yeah. More like sensors or tentacles that can sense, yeah. The bug has pea-pod shaped wings.
Can you repeat once more?
The bug has
Which shape, madam?
pea-pod shaped. The bug has pea-pod shaped wings. Pea-pod. मटर के दाने वाला वो जो छिलका होता है ना, pea-pod. ऐसे wings हैं उसके. The bug has a stinger coming from the bottom of the body. Stinger. The bug has 2 eyes placed on both sides of the face. The bug has a round mouth placed between the two eyes. The bug has laid 5 square eggs on the right side of the stinger.
Square what now?
Eggs, 5 square eggs.
5 square eggs.
On the right side of the stinger. So I hope your drawings are identical. Can you please put your drawing in front of the camera and let's see each other's drawing? Little closer. Yes, Dr. Sabyasachi, I can see. थोड़ा फोकस में लाओ डॉक्टर सब्यसाची. अच्छा है. ओके, डॉक्टर अतुल का दिख रहा है मुझे. फोकस करो थोड़ा सा. ओके ओके. Oh, wonderful. Okay. But why is it not identical? Why is it not same? I gave same set of instructions to all of you.
Everybody's way of expression is different.
Okay. What else?
Everybody's perception might be different.
Absolutely. Everybody's perception will be different. Everybody's understanding will be different. It will depend on the past experience, knowledge, understanding. So when you explain to your patients, you may think you have communicated very well. I would ask you to ask your patient to explain in their words. मैंने आपको भी सारा दवाई के बारे में बताया है, इलाज के बारे में बताया है, इस ऑपरेशन में क्या क्या हमें दिक्कत आ सकती है इसके बारे में बताया है. आप मुझे अपने शब्दों में बताइए कि आपको क्या समझ आया. Trust me, your patient will not be explain you more than 50%, maybe even lesser. So feedback, taking feedback from the patient is very important. When you give instructions to your juniors, to your staff, to your nurses, to your support staff, when you give them instruction and it is something very important, very vital, ask them to repeat it for you. You will be surprised to know that half the message is lost. And if you remember that activity that we did in session 1 about that 21 years old boy who ultimately went into irreversible paraplegia, was a result of poor communication and no feedback. So feedback, giving feedback and taking feedback is very important. A lot of time you send a WhatsApp message to somebody. If you don't receive the response, you can see blue tick, the person has read it, but there is no response. What all thoughts come to your mind?
Patient, that person is not interested in communicating with me.
Wonderful. What do others say?
Maybe I have written something I should not have written.
Okay, maybe I've written something I shouldn't have written. Excellent. Yes, sir, you were saying something.
Patient is
Patient
trying to
patient
friends, the person is actively trying to avoid it.
Okay, excellent. That's another good understanding. What do others say? Dr. Snehal, Dr. Atul, Dr. Ashwini?
Might not have understood what was communicated.
Okay.
Probably not interested in
The person
communicating.
We know the assumption the other person can have. So when I send a WhatsApp message in the group and I don't see any acknowledgement, what assumptions do you think I may have? Especially when I don't know you, I've not met all of you, I've not interacted, I don't know how interested you are. So if you, do you really want to communicate that to me? That we are not interested? It's boring.
No.
It's
No.
proactively, I want to communicate that I am not interested in your program. So there can be wrong communication. So second skill I think we all need to, keep in our pocket is attentive listening and giving and taking feedback. Just nodding also is a feedback. Thumbs up is also a feedback. Smiley is also a feedback. Similarly with patients, with your patients' relatives, your own juniors, staff, so many people, they nod to you saying good morning. I can nod back and say good morning. So these are all small gestures, but they go a long way in completing the loop, making sure that things have gone in place. So that is number 2. Third is attitude, positive attitude. What is the importance of positive attitude? How many of us have positive attitude towards our profession, first of all? I see a lot of disinterest now, not in the recent past. I see people saying, I don't want my kids to be doctors. I don't want my family members to be doctors. I want to really quit medicine and do something. The other day I was reading an article, orthopedician in Hyderabad has closed his hospital and it has, gone into some other business unrelated to medicine. So what is the importance of positive attitude?
That you continuously grow in your profession if you have a positive attitude. And if you don't have that, then life becomes more stressful.
Absolutely.
And you lose interest in continuing in your profession.
And you're on the downhill. So your attitude decides the quality of your life. It's very important to have positive attitude towards what we are doing, towards people with whom we are interacting, the profession that we are into. So I'm reminded of a story, short story that can give us the importance of the attitude, the importance of attitude. So there was a building being made, at a place. Somebody who was passing by that place, he spoke to one of the laborer who was, working on the site. So he asked him, कि भैया क्या कर रहे हो? तो उसने बोला, भैया रोजी रोटी कमा रहा हूँ, पत्थर तोड़ रहा हूँ, पैसे मिलेंगे, घर जाऊंगा, बच्चों के खाने का इंतजाम होगा. So a lot of us work for the sake of money. There's nothing wrong in doing that. That's fine. But if that's the only reason, then I think we need to sit and think, can this be the only reason? So he speaks to the next laborer and he asks, भैया क्या कर रहे हो? He was little, annoyed. He said, अंधे हो क्या? दिखता नहीं है पत्थर तोड़ रहा हूँ. So again, a lot of us work with a lot of, unhappiness, frustration, irritability. So the moment you will speak to them, they'll have something negative to tell, maybe about the system, about people, about society, about work, about workplace. So they'll be always cribbing and finding fault. There are people around us and we know them. We all recognize them. Then he goes to the third laborer and he said, Ki kya kar rahe ho bhaiya? So this fellow takes this person to the side of the building and there was a big, huge map put up there. And that map was for a temple. So he shows this map and he says कि यहाँ पर एक बहुत बड़ा मंदिर बन रहा है और मैं वो मंदिर बना रहा हूँ. All three were doing the same thing. But with what intention, with what attitude we work, that decides the quality of our work and quality of our life. It's very important to check our attitude towards our work. And if it is negative, I need to be clear, do I really want to be here? Because if I'm not liking what I'm doing, I will never do justice to my work. So I think we need to sit and introspect, is my attitude positive? Because I personally feel, especially people working in healthcare, they don't need to go to any mandir, masjid, gurdwara, church. कहीं जाने की जरूरत नहीं है. ये कर्म भूमि है. और अगर हम अपना काम अच्छे से कर रहे हैं, patient will bless us. Patient will always reward us with their comments and their compliments to us. So it's a cycle. It's a cycle. It could be a vicious cycle or it could be a wellness cycle, depending upon the kind of attitude we have. So third thing, I think very important that we need to have to mindfully have a positive attitude. You can focus on whatever you want to focus. And wherever energy goes, things grow. Wherever attention goes, energy flows, things grow. So we have to be very careful. If we have a negative attitude, automatically that's going to grow. That will look bigger than the benefits of being in a system. Number 3. Number 4 is empathy. What is empathy? What is empathy?
Understanding somebody else's situation and actively do something
Yes.
to overcome that situation.
I think that part is very important. A lot of time we can understand the other person's plight, but being healthcare, we are empowered. We have that ability to relieve the suffering, to reduce the suffering, to elevate the pain, elevate suffering. So empathy is something that we really need to have in our approach towards everyone and anyone. What is the difference between empathy and sympathy? If I may ask somebody else to answer this question. What is the difference between empathy and sympathy? Because a lot of time I hear from the medical graduate students and the practitioner, patients से attached नहीं होना है, इसलिए we have to stay detached, we have to stay aloof. So being detached is essential, is helpful, but being detached and insensitive is not something that will work. So what is the difference between sympathy and empathy?
Probably sympathy is like if the person is in a bad situation. I will just give an example.
Yeah.
They say, "Oh, it's so bad." That is probably sympathy. And empathy, that going to him, making him feel, yes, I understand your problem. That, and I understand that you are in a bad phase, and I care about it, and probably I can help in a way.
I'll do my best to relieve your suffering. That's the communication. Wonderful. Thank you. Thank you. So sympathy is feeling for the person. Empathy is feeling with the person. We don't have to feel for the person. We have to feel with the person, because if I can feel the feelings, I will make sure if I can relieve the suffering, if I can make things better for the person. So we are empowered, we have that knowledge, we have that skill, we have that ability to relieve the suffering to the best possible manner. So, but what stops us from expressing empathy, if I may ask you? What stops us from expressing empathy? Do you think we express empathy?
Sometimes yes, sometimes not.
Yes, sometimes. More honest answer, I will say. Sometimes yes and sometimes no. Is it what stops us from expressing empathy?
So that will be we feel that will be some extra burden on our life. We have to give time.
A misunderstanding. It's a misunderstanding actually. Again, it doesn't require time. It's part of your approach. Empathy is part of your approach, and it flows through you. People can see empathy flowing through you. And the opposite of empathy is not sympathy, honestly. It's apathy. Unfortunately, apathy gets seen clearly. If not antipathy, it's apathy. And that's what bothers our patients. That's what is bothering the society. That apathy is visible in our body language, in our facial expression. People who are used to treating us like gods and expecting some miracle from us, if they see apathy, it really puts them off. So I think we really need to see. I'm not asking you to invest yourself, but communication, your body language, your overall functioning can be full of empathy without investing extra time and energy. And honestly, if I had time, I could have shown you. Maybe I'll share those 2 slides in the group to help you, understand the difference between empathy and sympathy. And I want you to read those 2 slides. I'll share in the group because I don't want to spend more time on this. You'll be surprised to know that it is time saving. Sympathy is, disempowering, because with sympathy, you go home with the patient's pain and you get upset. And if you see the patient, parents crying or child crying, so you will not feel like eating that day. You will not feel like, you'll start imagining yourself in that chair. That's not what is desired. Empathy is very empowering, and it gives you a lot of satisfaction at the end of the day. I'll share those 2 slides because I'm sure you will all, understand the difference between the 2 in great length. And the last skill that I want you to, put in your pocket is assertion. What is assertion? What is assertion?
Positive thinking, something positive, reassuring.
Wonderful. That's one part of the definition, but that's very good. Any other guess? Any other understanding?
Putting effort to get the things done.
Okay, that's also a very good thing, and it's part of the. I know a lot of us do not know what exactly assertion means. We are going to spend good amount of time on it. I will be sharing a questionnaire with all of you. You will get to know your style of communication and will understand what is assertion. But for now, just to conclude this here, assertion is being able to say or communicate in a positive, honest, open, confident, and respectful manner. There are 5 things. Being able to communicate in honest, open, positive, respectful, and confident manner. If you have these 5 elements in your communication, this is assertion. Assertion does not mean being adamant. Assertion does not mean authority. Assertion does not mean pushing a point and not listening to the other person. Assertion is being able to honestly, openly say what you think about the situation. If you don't agree with something, you don't have to be annoyed and aggressive and negative about it. You can openly, honestly say, I respect your thoughts, but somehow I'm not in agreement with what you are saying. I need time to process it. I need to understand it. Can you explain me further? Can you tell me exactly what you mean by this? I'm somehow not able to see your point of view. And that's how we assert. But don't worry, we are going to talk about it at length. But these 5 skills I want you to keep in pocket. Can somebody, one by one tell me what are the 5 skills that we have identified? One per person.
Rapport building.
Building a rapport with the patient.
Building rapport, excellent.
Attentive listening and feedback.
Very good too.
Empathy and assertion.
Empathy and assertion, 4. And 5th was
Positive
positive attitude.
Positive attitude.
Thank you. Thank you.
And
Yes.
assertion.
Right. Excellent. So if we can keep these 5, and if you will start practicing, I'm sure your juniors and your team members will automatically start, following you. It's only a matter of changing the culture of your workplace and trying to showcase in every interaction that you work with. So with this, we come to the end of session 2. Any questions about whatever we have discussed?
No, we need to be more clear about assertion.
Definitely. You will be discussing about it at length. I'll be showing you a couple of videos.
Okay.
We'll talk about other communication styles that are commonly, practiced. You will see, I'll show you a couple of videos, and then we will discuss the right way of handling those situations. So moving forward from here, we are going to talk the next topic, and that is designing a successful program, because that is one topic that I had kept as a part of the master trainer program, so that you can, develop your own programs independently in your own setup. So Normally, how do you all design your programs? If I may ask everyone to share their thoughts.
First, we try to understand the program what is the topic for that program. Then, who are the participants?
Okay.
And their educational background or their profession, and and the time, and for how long the training program will be held, and number of persons who will attend the program. So depending on that, we will try to frame a schedule.
Excellent. So do you have a kind of a format for it? Have you, or this is just because you're doing it very often, so maybe you remember these steps very clearly? What about others who are not much into training? Were you aware of these steps? Were you following these steps? No.
One thing I can add that first we should be very clear about the objective of the training.
Absolutely, absolutely. And how do you
align everything to the objective?
And how, before you actually set the objectives, what do you need to know?
The participants, whether they know about that subject or not, or something.
Okay. Okay.
What is the need of that program?
Absolutely.
Yes.
I think the first thing that you did, the first step is find out the training needs. What are the training needs? So how do you do the training need? Actually, there are ways to do training need assessment, but in our own limited format, how can we do the training need assessment? What are the different ways?
We can go through the documents, that is the data that we capture in our hospital on some topic, and see.
Okay.
That hospital data can give you some
idea about what are the training needs. Very good. What do others say? Dr. Varsha, Dr.
By discussing their, ma'am, by discussing their daily problems they are facing in their day-to-day works. So that may be the need of the training.
Maybe even interacting with the employees or with your team members, you can check with them. So what do you think your training needs are? Wonderful. Dr. Sabyasachi, what do you say?
Nothing is actually coming to me.
So what do Dr. Snehal says? No idea. That's why I think it's very important to formally understand how do you go about designing the topic. Let me share a small presentation with you. We will have discussion side by side. I would request you to, jot down these points because they will help you in 1 second. Let me close this. Yeah. Okay. So where are we? Yeah. So like Dr. Asim Sil and Dr. Subra Sil, you are already into training. I think Dr. Atul is also into training. So maybe you're already familiar with the structure and you already have a structure in mind which helps you to design your program. And there are a lot of sites available that give you the structure of designing a program. But these steps that I'm sharing with you are very basic. But if you follow them, then you can definitely develop any program that you want. So one thing that you have to start with, step one, is find out their training needs. And as Dr. Seal said that you can check some data and find out what are the training needs. There are many more ways to check the training need. For example, on-site observations. So maybe you can visit your different departments and see how patients are being dealt or attended or answered. That will give you an idea what training you need to really arrange for your staff. You could ask the management who would share their problems, what kind of complaints and suggestions they are receiving from patients and visitors. So they will give you an idea that this is a very common situation, so we need training on this. Third could be, you could even directly ask the participants and employees and ask them to share what do they think they need training into. There are different tools also to assess. For example, there are knowledge assessment tools. So you can check, do they have that knowledge? You'll get an idea whether they require knowledge input or skill input. You could even make them do a activity and you will get to see how skillfully are they able to do. And in case if they're not able to do, then you would know that, okay, we need to really do skill building for them. Patient feedback is also another good way to, find out what training needs, need to be nurtured or looked after. Normally, we don't take patient feedback very seriously, but honestly, that can be a wonderful tool to identify the breakdown of communication. Then, of course, complaints and suggestions also give you an idea of what needs to be incorporated. Another interesting way is mystery customers. When you send somebody, with the idea to just observe our staff's behavior or conduct, and then you take the feedback from them. So if you are able to identify the training need, I think you will have more clarity on the training objectives that you want to set. So for a shorter program or smaller initial programs, usually the training objectives are creating awareness or sensitizing people. Of course, it can be imparting new skills and knowledge, because if you want to train them into something, you will be kind of creating interest and then giving them the required knowledge. It could be also to bring change in their attitude. So maybe you will do some activities, exercises, which will help them reflect on their behavior and conduct and bring change in their attitude. It could be also for the purpose of promotion and growth that you need to, do a training program. Like, for example, for NABH requirement, communication has become a very important part of PRE 8. It's one of the standards. So there you really need to train your staff into certain, parameters, and that could be the reason. Then when you want to align the employees to the vision and mission of the organization, especially, for example, for induction program. So when you have new employees, they're coming from different background, different understanding. So when you want to align them to the vision and mission of the organization, maybe you will incorporate this as part of the training program. Or when you want to do skill building, especially situations like handling difficult patients, handling uncooperative patient party, or mitigating violence or aggressive reaction. So all this require advanced level of communication and handling of difficult situations. So it could be a skill building kind of a program, or it could be a behavior modification. So all this could be the training objectives, or maybe few of them or some of them. So based on these training needs and the expectations of the organizers, we develop the training objective. So once you have your training objectives in place, now you need to do the brainstorming. So brainstorming is, so what all topics you need to take and what all you need to cover in that topic. So it's a good idea to create a bucket list of topics. So those of you who are very seasoned and who are already into training, I'm sure the moment you think of a topic, you will start having ideas. I can talk about this, I can talk about this, I can talk about this. But some of us who are new to training, we will have to do little R&D to see what all can be discussed in this, how we can, address this topic. So I normally use this tool called eDraw MindMaster. You can make a note of this, eDraw MindMaster. You can note down. I can show you a sample. Give me a second if I have it ready with me. So eDraw MindMaster, it has both paid and free version. I'm using free version. So eDraw MindMaster looks like this. So for example, this is one topic I recently took for National Human Rights Commission. So they asked me to talk on recovering from mental health damages post-COVID. So naturally, once you have the title clear, you would start thinking of what needs to be, covered under it. So you can write some subheading that you think you need to talk about. Then under each subheading, what needs to be talked that can be further, put under sub topic. So I use this as a kind of brainstorming tool. It's really very helpful. You can try doing it, or if you are fond of doing writing on the on a piece of paper, that's also fine. Some people like to use whiteboard where they can write their ideas so that they don't forget the idea, whatever suits you. But it's a good idea to keep noting down whatever thoughts come to your mind, because everything will not occur to you immediately. it's a process. Maybe it will take you a week or 10 days to think what all you need to cover, but you need to create a bucket list of topics and points that you want to cover in that. After that, now if you are ready with enough content that you can cover, you can now reorganize the points to fit into the format. And format, we all know, usually there is a beginning, then there's a body where you want to really, convey the message or communicate the skill or skill building activity. And then you close it with the takeaway. So now you have a structure, you have content which you need to organize with the in the following setup. Once you have done it, it's very important to now develop your training pedagogy. Usually, by the way, what common pedagogies are you comfortable with or you are using normally? If you may write in the chat box, what common pedagogies are you normally using or in your regular presentations? PPT, yes, I agree. Storytelling, yes, wonderful. PowerPoint, PPT, story, videos, yes, excellent. I see a lot of pictures shown by Dr. Asim in his presentation and very capturing, very, attention captivating. I've seen the videos, PPT. And especially when you're able to showcase real life cases, trust me, credibility of what you speak multiplies many-fold. Then people relate with you thinking that you are expert in your subject. You have done this, you know your subject well. So there are many ways of, conveying a message. I think we have been using PPT a lot. We have to actually cut down on PPT, honestly. So for example, role plays is a very good way, which we'll be using a lot in the coming session. From 5th session onwards, we'll be doing a lot of role plays. Then questionnaires, you have seen me using a self-reflection questionnaire, and we'll be using many more questionnaires. Then, which is this one? 1 second, I'm not able to see. Yeah, experience sharing. Again, you may have seen me using experience sharing a lot of time when I ask you to narrate your experience, because that helps you talk about what you have seen. Then, of course, rapid fire round, we'll be experiencing this in the session. Storytelling is another interesting way of engaging your audience. Puzzles, again, we'll be using these in the future session. And of course, group activities, which we are doing regularly, and videos. I mean, there are many more ways. And now a lot of my participants come up with new ideas. So somebody in one of the program shared their experience with Kahoot. So they made us practice and work with Kahoot and how that can be used as a training activity. So really, you need to have a good, pedagogies in your bucket, because PPT is actually no more, a way. It can help you stay in the structure, but then you really need to integrate these in a very, powerful manner. So make sure you integrate at least some of these things wherever you can. That's how you can actually captivate your audience. Once you have done it, now it's important to develop course material. It could be a handout. If it's a small session, it could be just a handout. If it's a long program like ours, then it's good to give them handbooks so that there's enough material to be read. And then, of course, after you have done this, develop questionnaires for pre-test, post-test, and feedback. I think these should be ready. These should be as simple as possible, but then it should give you some idea how exactly, you can assess where your audience is. Giving pre-test also gives you, it gives the audience an understanding where they stand. A lot of time you'll have audience who would think that we know it all. But when you give them pre-test and there are some questions which they may not know, it'll settle them down, it'll ground them. They will get to realize, okay, we don't know everything. So it's important to, attend the program. And then of course, post-test will give you an idea of how successfully have you been able to bring some change in their knowledge or attitude or in their understanding of it. Feedback gives you a feedback about your performance, giving you scope to improve. Once you have everything ready, go and execute the training. But a lot of work needs to be done when you have executed the training. For example, after you have executed the training, don't forget to take feedback. And feedback, as I said, keep it very simple to the point, preferably anonymous if it's a group where you think people will not come out honestly with their opinion. So it's good to give anonymous feedback. But where you know people will be able to share their thoughts in an honest manner, there's no harm taking, asking them. Because sometimes when people don't take the feedback, they don't kind of write the feedback, you will not know who all have actually given the feedback. So it has its own benefits and disadvantage. Once you have done the program, don't forget to sit and evaluate your training. Reflect on your training. The feedback that you all give me, actually, I read each feedback very carefully. When the takeaway that you talk about, the new topics that you want to be covered, or anything that you suggest in the comment section, I read every feedback, very carefully. I would request each one of you to give your feedback and honest feedback, and feedback that helps us improve the program. Because I sit and reflect on it and make sure that I can incorporate your suggestions in the future programs. So if you remember, I shared one questionnaire before we started the training, and that was more to know you all, brief introduction. Some of you did it promptly, but some of you did not do it. But that was required for me to know my audience. And I'll talk about it in a while, why it is important to know about your audience. But then, of course, after every training, it's important to reflect, how did I do? What do you think I did well? So before every training, I would have a whiteboard, in front of me, if you can see. I don't know if it is visible to all of you. And I would have those points that all this needs to be covered. I need to ask questions on this slide, because it's very important to remember that you need to engage your audience, make them participate, make them speak, make them talk. We are not into any teaching school where your students will just sit and listen to you. If you can't engage them mentally, they will get distracted. So you need to really reflect and incorporate as many pedagogies as possible in your program. So a couple of things that will help you, design your program well. Like Dr. Subrasil had mentioned a couple of them. For example, one important thing that you need to see if it's an online program or on-site program. So, because by the way, what difference will it make if it's an online program or on-site program?
The on-site program engagement is better ensured. And if it is online, it's partial. And on-site also.
If you repeatedly say, please have your camera on.
Yeah.
True. Yeah.
And the other thing, this is also Shubra's experience. Once she had conducted one large-scale training program for special educators who take care of children with special need. So half of the districts in the state were given to us for training the special educators. So initial suggestion was holding the training program at respective district headquarters. But she said that if they attend it in the district headquarters, they will come from home and they will be in a hurry to return home.
Yeah.
So their engagement will be partial. So all of them were brought to our institution, and it was 2-3 days residential training.
Excellent. So I'm sure it must have gone well because they were all there with all of you.
Yeah.
I think similar experience we had when we did the patient counseling program for both the hospitals at Videsai and NNN. We had actually planned that we'll do part 1 on site and then part 2 I will be doing online. But the experience of having, one-on-one interaction and a lot of role plays, it really motivated us to do the second half also on site. And we really had good interaction and good learning experience when we did on site. But at the same time, a lot of time there is no option to do on-site program. For example, now this program we have spaced out in 10 weeks with the reason so that we can see some change happening in your way of handling your patients. You can implement what you learn. You may enjoy a session, but when it comes to implementing, if it is not a long term, then you tend to go back to your old pattern. So, and for example, a lot of my programs would have international, participants from Bangladesh, Sri Lanka, UK, and USA. So they could join the program because it's online. If it's an on-site program, a lot of my participants are not able to attend. So both have its advantages and disadvantages. But I think even online programs can be made as interesting, as engaging as possible. But this opens a great avenue of covering larger, demographical area. People coming from different parts of the world can join your program. So it has both its advantages and disadvantages. But then you really need to prepare very well for both the online and on-site program. There is no, easy way out in this. Second thing is audience size. So how does audience size affect your, planning? If anybody would like to answer.
If the size is too big, we have to go for lectures, something like that.
Yeah.
But if the size is small or moderate, we can do group discussion, break them up into small batches, groups. But if it is 100, 200, something like that, then we have to just give maybe lectures.
Yeah.
PowerPoint presentation.
So you will have to plan your activities also accordingly. If it's too large thing, you may not be able to personally go and visit each group activity. So maybe you'll have to call volunteers from the audience and make them do that activity in front of everyone and then have discussion around it. A lot of time, if the audience is very small, even that kind of disinterest, because if there's a small group size and there's no interaction, people get bored and they find it, not very engaging. So both large and small audience size has its own advantages and disadvantages. For example, for a large audience size, if you plan to have introduction of every participant, definitely you will lose a lot of time in getting the introduction. So you will skip that part. And even activities you'll have to really plan very carefully. How is it helpful to know the details of your audience? Things like what is their qualification, their age, experience, and their past experience with that topic. How is that helpful? Is it required?
Extremely needed.
Extremely needed. Extremely needed. So that's why I sent that questionnaire to all of you where I said brief introduction. So you get to know your audience, you know who we are going to deal with, how experienced they are.
Yes, same presentation can be.
1 second, I think somebody is. Yeah. Yes, please. Yeah. You were saying something. Go ahead. Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. Same presentation can be presented in front of, say, take example from our field.
Yeah.
Same presentation can be presented in front of ophthalmologists. Same thing can be placed in front of managers.
Yeah.
Sometimes mixed audience.
Yeah.
And the way of presentation is going to be very, very different.
Yeah, absolutely. Very true. So it's very important to know your audience, whom you are going to interact with. If they are young, you would know what kind of challenges you can face. If it's knowledgeable people, experienced people, you can know what kind of challenges you are likely to face. So it's always good to know what kind of audience you are going to deal with. And then how willing is the audience? So will anybody be interested in sharing their experience with the willing audience or unwilling audience? Anybody?
And willing audience will have the interaction. They will ask the question. They will have the queries. But unwilling audience, they will say that the two possibilities are there.
Yeah.
That they have understood everything or
Yeah.
they have not understood anything.
Absolutely. So
And
any
sometimes
experience?
they're attending the session just as a ritual.
Yeah, because it's arranged by the management or arranged by somebody, so you have to attend it. Usually it's very difficult to get their interest, but then you really need to know your subject well and have very captivating kind of content where you can, engage them. But otherwise, I mean, I can share my experience that I did around 500 programs for Delhi government hospitals. I did initial couple of programs and the feedback was, feedback from the management went very well to the health secretariat, and they said, don't do it for just couple of hospitals, do it all across the Delhi. So for 2 years, 2 long years, I did more than 500 programs across Delhi government hospitals, around 35 in number. And every time I went there, I knew that I'm going to find an audience who is not going to be interested, who is not wanting to attend that program because they've been asked by their hospital, administrators to attend the program. So initial few minutes I had to spend on getting their interest. But just because I had designed my program in such a manner that they found it useful for them and they found that, oh yes, we are able to, avoid violence against us or aggressive reaction against us, they attended these sessions well and the feedback went very well. And that's how, like, then I was asked by health secretariat to do a program for the medical superintendents and deputy medical superintendents and all administrators at health secretariat. So around 70 of them attended that session, 3-hour session, where I tried to help them understand the importance of effective communication in patient handling. When they were attending this session, they were again equally disinterested like their employees. But the good part was when I went to their hospitals after this training, their conduct, their attitude towards my program was very changed. So you will come across audience who are not interested to start with, but once they start seeing their benefit in it, they definitely become, so you really need to design your program in such an interesting way that you are able to capture their, attention. Another important thing that we need to keep in mind, the available and allotted time. I normally try to have a watch, facing me, wall clock facing me. I keep an eye on the, because as a speaker, you will have a lot of content. But then you have to really, make sure that you end your session within the time that you're allotted. Because one, if you take your session beyond the allotted time, one, you may be eating somebody else's time. Maybe there's a speaker after you who has to speak. You may be eating that speaker's time. Second, it's very difficult to hold the audience beyond that time. For example, now mentally, 4 to 6 is the session. So up to 6 o'clock, you'll be very happy to sit with me. But if I take it to 6:10, 6:15, 6:30, not going to work. So constantly you have to keep an eye on the time and make your content, cut down your content to make sure that you finish your content in the allotted time. And that skill comes with a lot of practice. Otherwise, usually we tend to, go beyond the allotted time and struggle with covering everything. Now, these are a couple of resources. By the way, what all resources do you think we really need to have and check? I've written double check their functioning. Can you list down some of the resources that you think you require to do a program in the chat box? Yes, microphone, absolutely. Visual display unit, yes, I agree. Projector, absolutely. Audio visual, food, yes. If it's a long program, definitely food. You will have to make sure that at least some tea, snack, something is there. What else?
Sometimes we add some entertainment also.
Yes. Ice breaking or energizers. Yes. We are going to talk about it in the next session, but thank you for bringing that up here. Yes, electricity and network backup. Absolutely, I think very important, Dr. Varsha. Uninterrupted power supply. I think that's a very common problem. I agree. Speakers, you have mentioned, Dr. Chakravarti. I absolutely agree with you. Yes, these are the basic things that we all need to have. It's very important to not just assume that there is a projector and it is functioning. Please, if possible, check whether the projection is right and the quality of the projection is right. It's placed at the right place where people can see. If you can handle it well, so things like projector, mic, don't assume if they're physically there. Please check if they're really functioning. A lot of time you will see mismanagement done by people who are handling it and not looking after it. So audio system, especially if you have videos to show, and if the audio system is not effective, you will see that you will not be able to use your videos. Wall clock, as I mentioned, it's very I always try to have it facing me so that I can keep an eye on the time. Name tags, that's very important. If you have a smaller audience, and if you can make them have that stickies with the capital name, just name, which you can read from even distance, trust me, you can connect with your audience very well. So for Malanas at Medical College, I am doing programs for the last 10 years. But for the last couple of years, I've made it a point that they'll have their name tag on their shoulder or left or right side, and just the first name. When I call them by name, they immediately know that she knows my name and she's calling me by name. When you have this thing, they will be more alert in the classroom and they'll be more responsible also. Stationery, for example, pen, pencil, notebook, that should be available. We just need to make sure that we don't assume that it will be there, but we give them the list that these things should be available. Then if you intend to do some activities, props for the activities should be there. Sitting arrangement, usually I ask my organizers to send me a picture of the auditorium or the place where they're going to do the program. That gives you an idea how you're going to use that place for your activities and fitting in the audience. A lot of times they'll have a very long kind of a corridor kind of a auditorium. So it's more like a lecture hall. Doing activities can be challenging there. Of course, whatever you have to improvise, but then mentally you're ready now. Okay, it's a more like a classroom kind of a place or a lecture theater kind of place. So I have to plan my activities in a manner that I can make use of whatever space is available. But knowing what is the sitting arrangement in advance gives you a mental picture of place. And things like water facility or food and also toilets, etc. All that has to be made sure that all these things are available. So have these things in place in advance and make sure that you have checked them personally. Will give you a confidence in your performance. Now, a couple of tips very quickly we'll go through. I think most of it we have discussed, just to tell you how to make sure that your program goes successful. So first thing, very important, is to integrate what is in it for me. Your audience will only engage with you if you can show them what are they going to get out of it. How is it going to benefit them? So how you help them see the purpose and the benefit of learning this and how it's going to improve their quality of life, performance, relationship. If you can show them, they'll definitely enjoy your program, they'll participate. Beginning and end have a very huge impact. We all know recency bias and latency bias. So it's very important to have a wonderful beginning and wonderful ending, and with a very clear carry home message. So organize your content in a manner that you have a very enjoyable beginning and enjoyable end. And then of course, with learned audience, with educated audience, ask as many questions as you can. You cannot actually teach anybody anything. You can only ask some questions that can, provoke people to think. Rather than serving them with information, ask them, you will get to know. They will work on it more. Very important thing to remember, people don't remember the content, but they remember the experience, because our emotional mind plays, more than our rational mind. So if you can create a long-lasting experience, an interesting experience, they will remember your session, they'll follow your instruction, they'll try to apply what they have learned. So I'm just sharing this, slide with you. So when you're using one or the other simple pedagogy, you may be involving small part of the brain. But when you use multiple pedagogies, you use different parts of the brain, automatically the engagement becomes better and your audience is with you. Of course, with the learned audience, it's very important to support your opinion and statement with studies and reports. So whenever you are sharing your opinion, make sure that you are supporting it with some, definite source from where you have taken and what do those reports say. Very important is to keep updating yourself, because your audience may ask you something. If you don't know the answer, you'll have to cut a sorry figure. So it's always good to keep updating your knowledge and skill so that your audience knows that what you're speaking is out of experience and not you have just read somewhere and you are kind of, just speaking a theoretical message. Regularly time your sessions, because this I'm repeating once again, because when you don't time your session, if you don't cover the content within limited time, you will actually be cutting a sorry figure, and then at the end you will not be able to deliver everything that you plan. So be very realistic in how much you can cover and how much you can deliver. So for a 1 hour session, how many minutes, how many slides do you think is good enough? How many slides are good enough for a 1 hour session? Write in the chat box.
Yeah, 40 to 50.
Only if you have some pictures to show and not much of discussion.
Yeah.
But if you have discussion, because I've seen your style of presentation, Dr. Simsel, and you have an interesting way of presenting, because with every picture you have a story to share, because you have dealt with that patient, you have handled that patient. So that becomes very engaging, but then that cannot be covered in 1 hour.
Yeah.
So 35 to 40, again, Dr. Subra, if it's just a picture and you're just going to cover that in maybe a minute, fine. But if you have a story to share, if you have explanation to give, then 35, 40 is a larger number, because with this you will be engaging, you will be using some group activity, doing some role plays, doing some more, using some more pedagogies. Yeah, around 30. That's a closer guess, I would say. So what I'm trying to say, time your session. You will get an idea how much you can really, devote on slides. As I said earlier, also read your feedback carefully. That's the best way to keep improving your performance. Reflect regularly. Practice. That's the only way. So, are you familiar with the idea of 10,000 hours to master your craft? Are you familiar with that idea of 10,000 hours?
No.
No. So studies suggest if you invest 10,000 hours into anything, you become an expert of that subject. Anything. So if you decide to take communication as one of your primary, teaching arena, start investing time, start conducting programs, start doing trainings for your staff. On daily basis, if you spend, say, around 30 minutes to one hour every day, and then go for larger program, you can master this skill. But the whole idea is that you really need to, make effort, put efforts into. Perseverance is the only way to master any subject. So designing a program, delivering a program, facilitating a program is something that can be learned, that can be improved. Every day we improve. Like even today, I keep improving my way of delivering, and I keep, to the extent, I actually underwent a 3 days program, which is now a 5 days program with Dale Carnegie. So 2000, I think 14 or 15, I spent 45,000 rupees to attend that 3 days program. It was train the trainer program, because I had a couple of challenges when I tried to, deliver program in medical, institutions with senior audience. So sometimes, they really want to derail your program and upset you and disturb. So I went for the training to learn how do you handle that disruptive audience. We'll be talking about it in the next session. And it was a great learning for me. And I bring that learning, again to my every program, every session, I learn from it. And I try to incorporate that. So this is in a nutshell about how do you go about designing a program. Any questions about it?
Ma'am,
I have one.
what are the,
Yeah.
Varsha,
you continue.
what are the ways to make your presentation effective or impressive if it's about for 8 to 10 minutes only for the shorter time? So how
again,
to do this?
Dr. Varsha, this topic we are going to cover in the next session, and that is facilitation skills. So we are going to talk about that. And also, a good thing is that in the next session, I will be sharing a list of different pedagogies.
Okay.
And each one of you will be making a presentation on any one of the topic of your choice, and how to make impactful PPT is one of the topic that will be covered in the list. So we will get to learn around 10 new ways of doing a. So we can pick up storytelling, puzzles, ice breaking, energizer, PPT, experience sharing, reflective questions. So I have a list of pedagogies that I will be sharing with you. And each one of us will be making a 10 minutes presentation or 15 minutes presentation. I'll share the format also. So that way we'll learn how to make a presentation in 10 minutes or 15 minutes. And then each one of us will learn new ways of delivering the program. So this will be covered in detail in that. Yes, sir, you wanted to say something. Please go ahead, sir.
Yeah, I have a question regarding collecting the feedback.
Okay.
Because if we just take the example of a marriage party, if the host asks you, "Khana kaisa tha?" everybody will say fine.
Bilkul.
But they will say something different when they go out.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So these are the pitfalls of collecting feedback. So what is your take on that?
So what I have seen, what my understanding is, when the audience is not, see, for example, if you are my boss and I'm working under you, then definitely my feedback will be controlled, because I know if I give you a feedback that's not favorable, you will not like me, or you will not, take my feedback in the right spirit. But usually in a program like this, the one which we have done, if we take feedback, people are very honest with their feedback. This is what is my experience. People are very honest in their feedback. And their even suggestions and their takeaways and their comments are also very, well thought. This is what is my learning. But anywhere, if you think there's a risk that people will not come out with their honest feedback, you can keep it anonymous. You can keep it anonymous. For example, if it's a larger audience, say around 50, 60 people, in 50, 60, even if 50% of them have given their feedback, the idea of feedback is that you want to know from them, have they really found it useful, meaningful, purposeful? Is it serving the purpose? You will have a good idea. So you'll have to really decide for what kind of audience. For example, in this, I normally ask people to write their name because one, I would know who all are responding. Second, I know we can always say in an upfront manner what we want or what we didn't like or what changes we want in the program.
So, ma'am, a question from my side. So you
Sure.
talked about the 5 things to improve the patient communication.
Mhm.
So, I mean, are you planning to cover the main issue we face in institution is the time
Mhm.
part. So, as you said, it doesn't take much time, but we still have a lot of patients. So, are there any, skills, any ways to include everything, what you told us, and probably and deliver at the same time in the number of patients?
So normally this is a very regular question I get to hear from hospitals who have large OPDs and they are always short of time. So what I ask them to do is to apply Pareto's law. Have you heard of Pareto's law?
No.
No.
So Pareto was an economist who gave this law that 80% of the economy is in the hands of 20% of people, and it's all across the world. All across the world, around 20% of the people will hold the nation's economy. Later on, it was seen that this law is applicable to many other spheres of life. Even in your practice, you will see 70 to 80% of the patients would be such who do not require much interaction. They may be coming to you for simple eye conditions where you just need to examine and treat them and send them home. But 20 to 30% of the patients who require rigorous working, one is that it's important to identify them. That is one thing. So with them, we have to make sure that we are able to communicate properly so that they get complete information, they go back satisfied, they do follow up. For example, if it's a glaucoma patient, I really need to sit and explain the importance of instilling medicine and also coming for regular follow. So for such patients, I'll have to come up with new ways to spend more time. So maybe we need to have a glaucoma clinic. Maybe we need to ask this patient to wait. Maybe we need to engage patient counselor who will do the patient counseling for me so that these things are explained in a effective manner. So being mindful of the fact that this patient requires further explanation, if I can do nothing like it, but if I can't do, let one of my team member do. Maybe a junior, maybe an intern, maybe a nurse, maybe a patient counselor, maybe your optometrist, maybe a video. So making sure that that communication does not go unattended and that gap is filled is the way to improving communication. So this is something I always recommend. But if you think that I have limited time and I don't have anybody to talk about this, these 4 points you can say कि देखिए आपकी आंख की जो हालत है इसमें दवाई अगर नहीं डालेंगे ये और खराब होती चली जाएगी. ये दवाई रेगुलर डालना जरूरी है, फॉलोअप के लिए जरूर आना है. आपने उस पॉइंट को 2 या 3 बार अंडरलाइन कर दिया और जाते ने पूछा बताइए क्या समझ आया आपको. But before that, if I built rapport, if I have heard the patient, if I have been nice to the patient, chances are patient is going to comply with you. Connection banana bahut zaruri hai. So before you communicate, connect with your patient. I hope I have answered your question.
In this connection, may I ask a question to Sabyasachi? Because you handle the kids. The mothers will have a lot of questions. So how do you address that?
I actually follow this rule
not saying anything for the first 30 or 40 seconds and ask them what is wrong. And only when they stop speaking do I start speaking myself. So I have been doing this even before the program started, and it somehow works really well for me. So they don't go on speaking for a very long time. Like they give me that pertinent information because it's a child, it's a parent. They don't keep saying things. They stop where the pertinent information is provided, and then I guess I get a lot of information from them. So that is one. And second is when I have told them something and I have seen this. If I have listened to them, like if I have picked up their questions hidden in the first paragraph or the first statement they make, and if I answer all of them from what I understand, usually their final questions are also very limited. So that is how I go about it.
Yeah, nice.
Thank you.
Nice.
So I've shared the feedback form in the chat box. So quickly, if you could give your feedback, that will be nice. So, Dr. Sabyasachi, you have given in your feedback one point, which is quite interesting, keeping the presentation within the time frame. What I would suggest you to practice that and time your presentation. This even I struggled a lot to start with. I struggled a lot because even my session would overspill, and I would need more time to cover. But what I started doing, I started, timing my presentation. And then as I'm saying that for 5 minutes, this thing, if you can have even 15 slides for 8 to 10 minutes presentation, but then you have to just speak one line per slide. So it's not the number of slides, it is how much of talking you do per slide. If you have like for example, usually in CMEs we have 8 minutes or 10 minutes. You can have 15 slides. Yeah, you can have 15 slides, but make sure that you speak only one sentence per slide, and then you will have a good control on your, time. I have initially really struggled a lot, like you were saying.
Thank you, ma'am.
So I've received 3 responses as of now. So some of the members are not participating. They are not even having their camera on. So how would you like to handle that, Dr. Sil?
Only thing I can do is have to personally talk to them. Before this meeting also, I talked to them.
Why I'm saying this, because see, if they were not interested, then we could have taken somebody who is interested to attend this. Yeah. I know unless you have tasted, you don't know what it is and how it's going to help me. And usually, I mean, everybody thinks that it's a lot of time that they have to invest into it.
Yeah, of course.
But I feel there is no end to learning. You can learn from everybody.
Absolutely.
It's a cross learning. This 12 of us we all can learn from each other.
Absolutely.
Age is not a factor. Nothing is a factor. You learn.
Absolutely. I completely agree with you. So I've received 5 responses as of now. Dr. Sil, I think I've not, yes, I've received now. Yeah. Dr. Varsha, I've received, yeah. So I think it's okay. I think one of the member is not actually, Dr. Snehal, are you there? Yeah. Thank you. I think we'll close it here.
Thank you so much.
And meet next Friday. Thank you so much, all of you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.